Ladies and gentlemen, check. We're back with yet another weekly live stream. As you know, we're doing weekly live streams on this channel each and every week on Wednesdays. So sign up right now to this channel. Click subscribe. The bell button you have to click as well. And we have a very special topic in today's fireside chat. I mean, normally we call this fireside chat. Why? Because I do have a fire here. I can bring it a bit forward. Actually, I need to move the camera a bit. But you see, we have a bit of fire there going on. And today we're going to discuss whether Web3 is a big, fat, giant scam. All right? Because this is what you hear outside of crypto. I know that in crypto we're kind of in a bubble, but sometimes there are a lot of articles against Web3, and I want to dissect them today. So there are many you can look at. I mean, this is one from Scott Galloway, and you know that he himself is kind of an influencer in startups and business. Then you also have a bunch of these articles, for example, from Bloomberg. They're pushing this all the time. Inside, cryptos plan to retool the internet, and they're almost always very negative. Like the Web3, I have this paywall here. The Web3 you've heard about doesn't exist, or this and that. I mean, always there is something negative, and especially when you look at recently, even big, very respectable programmers, for example, one of the founders of Signal app, you know, the messaging app Signal, he came out and basically had this article explaining how bad Web3 is. And there are many different arguments they make that I want to address today, all right? And many of these arguments are premature. One way I can summarize all of this is premature criticism of an industry that is still nascent. So that's what we're going to discuss. And of course, if you find these things interesting, you can also leave comments in the live chat. You can ask questions. We're going to have Q&A at the end. We're going to do our weekly challenge, as you know. This week, the challenge was to use Moralis and build something using Web3 Auth or using Magic or Web3 Auth, basically those two providers, Magic or Web3 Auth. We're gonna go through that. Then we're gonna go to Q&A and so many other things. So on that note, let's go into the criticisms of Web3 and let's discuss whether Web3 is a big scam or not. And the first thing I want to say is the big goal of Web3. I want to discuss the big goal of Web3. Why is Web3 even here? Because for me personally, this is an existential question. We always discuss that Web3 has to succeed, because if Web3 doesn't succeed, you and I and our children will have no ownership rights online. If you truly think about what is Web3 about, why do we have Web3? Why do we have blockchain? What is it? It's about one simple thing. It's not decentralization. It's not, self-custodial wallet, this and that. Those are elements. Those are technicalities. Those are the technologies we have. But the true essence is ownership online. If you have to summarize Web3 in one word, it's ownership. Why do we have Web3? Why is it here? Why do we develop for it? Why do we build tools for it? At Moralis, we build tools for Web3. Because it's all about, will you and I have ownership online or not? If it is the case that big tech builds a big metaverse that is very compelling, where you and I are spending our time, will we own part of that metaverse? Will we have our own digital things that we actually own? Or will it be all like it is right now, where if you say something wrong, you're deplatformed, you're removed from the digital landscape without any court, without any lawsuit or anything against you, just an algorithm can tell, hey, you're gone. So of course, the way that the humankind is developing is more and more towards digital, towards immersive. So sooner or later, we're going to be fully immersive. We're going to be fully digital in terms of what we do day to day. It is already like that. Look, it's already like that. I don't know. I'm spending maybe 80% of my time already chatting, working, communicating, being in calls, being on live streams, being in Twitter spaces, already online, okay? And it's in front of the screen. But now imagine if it's even more immersive. And that's where the trend is going. So why is Web3 here? Well, it's because you and I and our children and future generations, we're going to be more and more online. We're going to spend more of our time online. We're going to have more and more experiences online. And it's all about, will we have ownership online or not? Okay? And we have the first few iterations of this technology already. And of course, the biggest thing that really became big during the past year is NFTs. And NFT is an industry that is very easy to attack because the NFT industry is not really done properly. If I'm to tell you honestly, the NFT industry is not done properly in the manner and in the spirit of Web3. This is seen, for example, when you look at the metadata, that most of the metadata is stored on IPFS, which may seem decentralized, but someone has to pin it. And most often, you yourself will not pin it, so someone else has to pin it. That's number one. The fact that metadata is not on chain. Metadata is never on chain. Metadata is either on IPFS, which is an okay solution, but somebody still has to pin it, which ends up to be that you have to either use Pinata, or you have to use Infura, or you have to use Moralis. You have to use some provider. I mean, it's the fact. Or you can pin yourself, but you will never do it. It's kind of like seeding a torrent indefinitely. So this is the number one thing with NFTs, the metadata, that is not really stored in a proper way right now. There are solutions. I mean, one solution that we're looking at a lot is Arweave. So Arweave is basically like IPFS, but you don't have to pin anything. You don't have to actively pin something for it to be stored and to be served. So that's an important improvement over IPFS. And this is where a lot of the attacks come from. So when you, for example, read this article from one of the co-founders of Signal, I mean, that's at least how I remember this guy. Let me scroll down. Moxie. I think he's one of the co-founders of Signal. Let's see what he says on Twitter. He says, yeah, founder of Signal, Signal app, exactly. So this is one of the co-founders, one of the founders of Signal app, and his attack mainly comes to the fact that each of these NFTs that he has created himself, you can change the image, all right? You can change the image because the only thing you have on the blockchain is a link to where the image is located. And of course, if you want, you can change whatever is served on that link. That's possible. So that's what he did. He basically did an NFT where it looked in one way on OpenSea, in another way on Rarible, and in a third way in your wallet, all right? So his server could basically recognize where the request for that image is coming from and change based on that. And he wanted to show that the metadata you own in NFTs, it's not decentralized. Look, you think it's completely permanent, but it can be changed live, it can be changed. All depends on how the metadata is stored. And that's true criticism, by the way. And many people don't understand how NFTs work. I mean, it's a link. It's a link to wherever the metadata is, each NFT. And this is also something we've seen recently. I don't remember exactly which project it was, but there was one person on Twitter which got their OpenSea account hacked. So somehow they lost an NFT. And the project, basically the NFT that got stolen, the developers of that project, they could go in and they could change the image of the stolen NFT to say that, hey, this NFT has been stolen. So they wanted to help their community member by changing the contents of the metadata, the contents of the NFT. And that also showed that, look, you can change the contents. If the metadata is stored on a centralized server, you can easily change it. If the metadata is stored on IPFS, you cannot change it, but it may disappear. It may simply disappear. And most often, your metadata on IPFS will point to the picture which is normally on a centralized server. So basically, you have two layers to metadata. First, the JSON file with the description and the link to the image. So even if the JSON file is on IPFS, the image, if that's not on IPFS, which the JSON file points to, then you can also change. So this is the bulk of the criticism. I mean, normally when I read these things, it's about some NFT criticism, that it can be removed, this and that. Now, another criticism has to do with the ownership of Web3. So this is by Scott Galloway, and also Jack Dorsey speaks a lot about this, that when you look at the tokens, you look at who are behind a lot of projects and how much of the token supply they own, that is centralized, that you have most of the tokens. When you look at top 10, I mean, a lot of these tokens, they're very centralized in terms of ownership. And that's being used as an argument, but look, so is Bitcoin. It's also very centralized in terms of ownership, extremely centralized. So in that sense, everything we humans do in terms of wealth is all going to be centralized in one way or another. Now, are there fair launches and not fair launches? Yes, there are very unfair launches, there are fair launches, and then there's everything in between. So when it comes to the fact that, you know, some projects or many projects have VCs and LPs and they own most of the tokens, it's not really a representation of this entire space. Just like if some projects store their NFTs on a centralized server, it doesn't speak for the entire industry. And if you really look at all the criticism about Web3, it's mainly that hey, NFTs are centralized because metadata is stored on a central server and tokens are owned by a few people in these projects that they point to. Is it descriptive of the entire space? Absolutely not. Of course, there are many other criticisms that we face every day, which makes sense. So for example, the environmental aspect to me makes total sense. And we have a solution with proof of stake. As you know, ETH is going to proof of stake, and that is a decrease in energy consumption by 99.5%. When you look at overall change in energy consumption, is going to be massive. So that's another argument that to me doesn't really make sense because it's not really representative of the entire space. Are there cryptocurrencies that spend a lot of electricity because of the miners that want to have some kind of profit? And if the price of Bitcoin goes up, then more miners will join. So the amount of electricity is always going to follow the price, because as long as the prices of Bitcoin go up, there's going to be more electricity spent, because now you can spend more electricity to earn the same number of Bitcoin. And if the price of Bitcoin go up, now you can spend even more electricity to be better in this competition of mining. So all in all, that's a valid criticism that I do accept, but that I know many people in Bitcoin don't accept. But once again, it's not representative for the entire space. So always, when you have a new industry, a new space, it's very easy to point to a few examples and say, hey, look, this is so bad, or look, that is so bad. NFTs are centralized, or token ownership is centralized. And it's so easy to say, hey, it applies to everything. Just like when you looked at the early internet usage, in the beginning, it was used by who? People that wanted to watch adult content. Those were the early adopters of the internet. And it was so easy to say, internet's so useless, so useless, because the only use case is to spread not safe for work images and videos. It was also very slow at loading these images and videos, okay? So it made perfect sense to say, hey, the only use case for the slow technology that is the internet is for all of these shady things. And one thing is adult content, but also internet was full of scammers in the beginning, because you could be basically anonymous, all right? You could be basically anonymous in the early days of the internet. Now, of course, nobody is anonymous online, but in the early days, it was kind of like that. And it was so easy to say, hey, this slow, expensive technology, I need a computer that costs thousands and thousands of dollars. I buy the computer. I get it installed, which is very complicated. Imagine in the early 90s, people didn't know anything about that. Then I have to pay a lot for the internet. So there are many arguments to be made that this inefficient, very, very complicated technology doesn't make any difference in anyone's lives. Because if I want to see a picture, I can open a book. If I want to read some article, I can open a newspaper. You remember that famous clip of Bill Gates where he tries to explain internet on a TV show, and the host of the TV show basically bombards internet with FUD, saying that, hey, haven't you seen newspapers? You can read an article in the newspaper. Or, haven't you seen radio? You can listen to news on the radio, like the real analog radio. Why do you need the internet? So the same thing right now is constantly happening in Web3. And so many people get absolutely confused about Web3 because they read articles that don't represent it in a fair way, that they point on a few deficiencies and they make conclusions based on that. And this is where most of the opportunity is lost. I mean, I do feel kind of bad for people that don't really understand the size of Web3, but it's also by design, because when we understand the opportunity with Web3, the opportunity is only here as long as other people don't understand it, right? The arbitrage in opportunity, the arbitrage in terms of what you can do in an industry that is new and still misunderstood, is directly proportional to the amount of misunderstandings about an industry. If an industry is clearly understood by everyone, there is zero opportunity. There is zero. You cannot do anything because everyone understands it. There is zero upside. Nothing will moon that is completely understood, because then everyone has already bought in. Everyone has already entered their position. So there is no new interest and no new buyers when you look on the speculation side. But the same applies to the arbitrage in opportunity. can you build something big in Web2 today? I mean, you could try, but a lot of opportunities have already been taken. People have been thinking about Web2 for decades now. And so even if you have an idea, it's not your idea. It's already been thought about and already deployed, and you don't have a lot of opportunity. You have zero opportunity, basically. In Web3, very different, because it's new, it's misunderstood, people still don't really get the full picture, and that's amazing. That's what I love. That's what I love about Bitcoin, because people still don't understand it, although we're getting there, although we're slowly getting there. And especially now with Web3, people don't understand it. People think that it's some kind of scam, they don't really get it. And this evolution is very natural. And look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the biggest scam in the world in the eyes of the average Joe 5 years ago. Just look 5 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, for example, in 2015, those days that were pre-2017. Because in 2017, I feel that that's where most people kind of understood that, hey, it's not going away. because then it really, in a way, became mainstream for the first time, that most people started to get interested in about Bitcoin and learn about Bitcoin. So from 2017 until today, Bitcoin has basically lost this scam label. But before that, it was the biggest scam. It was only used by money launderers, people said, only used by criminals, only used by shady people online, only used by drug dealers. There was a lot of that. And now you do see US just announced that they're gonna study how to integrate it into the financial system, as you know, the executive order. Now you have the biggest funds in the world investing in Bitcoin. Now you have Bitcoin being traded on commodity exchanges like other commodities. So this situation has changed completely. And of course, the price of Bitcoin from 2013 went from $1,000 to 30K, to 40K, which is now like 30, 40K. It went all the way to 70K almost. And also, you know, in 2012, it was $100. So the same is going to happen with Web3 in terms of course, the coins, all of that, big, good projects going to do well. But most importantly, in terms of opportunity, what you and I can build in the space, what we can contribute to the space. So when you're thinking about ideas, about some kind of game, some kind of financial application, some kind of other application in the space, think about the fact that most people don't even see the big picture. We're so early. I mean, it's so early. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, you know, we started to teach Web3 programming already in 2017 with Ivan on Tech Academy, which is right now Moralis Academy. And people sometimes, they looked in disbelief, all right? They looked in disbelief at us, asking, will I get a job with this knowledge? If I learn Solidity, will I get a job or not? They asked us that in 2017 because it was unbelievable that something like this, you know, Solidity, some smart contract programming, could make a big industry with life-changing outcomes for people that build something. All right, it was completely unbelievable. Now it's not, because of course we've seen last few years it's been absolutely insane for all the builders. So I hope you understand how personally I'm thinking about Web3 and why a lot of criticism is misguided. But let's continue and see what they say. I mean, all in all, they speak about, once again, the ownership, but again, ownership in a few assets doesn't speak for the entire industry. They then also mentioned, I mean, funny enough, this guy also mentioned Moralis. Let me see. Let me find this. Oops. So this guy spoke a lot about the fact that you need, let's here. So the infrastructure of Web3 is predicated on the existence of middlemen, he says. That there is Infura, Alchemy, he even mentioned Moralis. Truth is, people don't want to run their own servers, and they don't want to have to write code every time they buy a loaf of bread. And look, this is correct. Nobody runs their own nodes. Nobody runs this infrastructure themselves. But if you want, you can do that. Okay? This is the big thing. If you want, you can do that. If you want, you can self-host your wallet. You can do non-hosted wallet. You can self-custody your crypto if you want that. If you want that, all right? If you want, you can spend a few weeks to sync an Ethereum node and use it yourself. And if you have a team that can maintain it, you can do that. If you want that. Most people will not do it. They're gonna use Infura or Moralis or something else for nodes and other technology. But the big difference with Web3, and we have to be realistic here, Web3, will it mean that everyone does everything? No. It doesn't. But it does mean that if you want, you can do that. All right. That's what I love about crypto as a whole, that yes, there are exchanges. Exchanges facilitate a lot, but at any time I can withdraw. At any time, if I want, I can withdraw and I can be fully self-custody. And the same with development. I don't think it's reasonable or even realistic for everyone to self-host everything, because the level of user experience that users expect nowadays is pretty high. And to self-host all of that and also have it in a decentralized manner, it's not even on the map, because even big companies like, for example, Slack, we use Slack in our company a lot. They are down. So even big companies that cannot do their job using a centralized solution where everything is very efficient, when they have downtime, and today we have a lot of apps that have downtime, like Slack. Slack was down today. You cannot send file. You cannot even leave emojis on messages. So you understand that even today, if you want the user experience that most users on the internet want, and you want to have something big, even today, using a centralized solution, you will have scaling issues, right? Using a centralized solution. So now think about using a decentralized solution where either you have to self-host everything. So look, it's not possible. But if you want, you can do that. If you really have the will, you have the skills, you can do that. And most importantly, you can always withdraw. To me, it's all about the assets. Who runs the nodes? It's not that important, because I can run my own node, you can run a node, these guys can run, anyone can run nodes. So to use a service for nodes or some other part of the tech stack, it's not that big of a deal as long as the assets are in a way where you can withdraw. This is my main thing when it comes to people like Scott, for example, speaking about the infrastructure layers. That yes, when you look at the infrastructure layer, in many ways, it is based on a model that is similar to Web2, meaning that if it's possible, we use a decentralized solution, like for example, Arweave or IPFS, but even that has some friction, so you will have providers providing that in an easier manner, but if you want, you can always do it yourself. Look, I hope it makes sense. At the end of the day, the most important things, such as the smart contracts, the assets, the tokens, that is on-chain. So when you look at what's centralized and decentralized in your game, you have to be very clear on how you want to build it. If you build a game, for example, will the entire game run on-chain? It will not run on-chain. It's impossible to run a game on-chain, 60 FPS. Ethereum can do 7 transactions per second or so, okay? So you want to do a game with 60 FPS on-chain, it's not gonna happen. But can you put the game assets on-chain? Yes. Can you put in-game trading with assets on-chain, maybe on layer 2 or on some other solution that make it decentralized? Yes. So there will always be a distinction between what's centralized and what's decentralized in all apps. It's always decisions you have to make. Because putting everything on-chain, number one, that's not possible. You could put it on IPFS, but on IPFS, you will not have a full web app. You will have a static. You can download a static file and maybe view a static HTML. That's it. That's everything you will do. That's why it's all about trade-offs. What kind of trade-offs we make. But as long as the assets are on-chain, as long as the smart contracts are on-chain, as long as you can self-custody them, then everything else is a detail. In my view, it's all a detail. So that's why this argument also to me doesn't really make sense. I'm trying to find more arguments against Web3. We've discussed a few of them. For example, the NFT metadata, the token ownership. Now we discussed the infrastructure layer that many people are discussing. By the way, this is not even true. That people still say that crypto is used for fraud. Chainalysis, they did the research where they concluded that only a small fraction of crypto transactions are fraud. And this fraction is smaller than in fiat, okay? Let me see, Chainalysis, fraud transfers. I think they do this research now and then, and I remember recently reading an updated version. Yeah, I don't want to search in real time for that article. If you want, you can find it yourself. Report from Chainalysis concluding that only a small, like 0. something percent of all crypto transfers are illegal. You know, they are from some kind of hack, there's some kind of theft, and this percent is actually smaller than in fiat. So that's another important thing to understand, that people still point to this fraud and ransomware, this and that crypto is used for that. And is crypto used for that? It is. Look, crypto can be used for many things. It can be used for good and it can be used for bad. Just like internet, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. You can have a hammer used for good, for smashing a nail into a wall so you can hang a picture, or you can smash something else with a hammer, and many other things. All right, it's all about, is it useful? What are the average people in the world use it for? And then you can truly see the effect that technology has on the world. Is it mostly positive or mostly negative? So the same with the car. Criminals use cars. All right, you can use a car to do a lot of criminal things. The same with crypto. Now, Scott also talks about DAOs, and here I have to agree. A lot of DAOs, you know, it's Discord channel, all right? Will that be the case forever? No. So DAOs, it's a very immature use case. We don't really have real DAOs nowadays. We don't. There are some attempts to create DAOs, and in the future, I'm sure that DAOs will be a new way to organize labor, to organize ourselves, and it's gonna be very monumental. Just like when LLC was invented, you know that the creation of limited liability company, LLC, changed the world, because now you and I can do things together. We can organize ourselves together. We can search for profit. We can do things together, and we can go out into the world, try to find profit, and we can share the profit. We can hire people. We can build the team, and so on and so forth. And of course, it made a big difference, because we no longer have to be farmers in some kind of a king's backyard, okay? Like in the Middle Ages. We can finally do innovative things. And when we do that, we push forward the society. We improve the society. Because we come together, we do great things. We're selfishly looking for profit, but in the process, we're improving society, because to find profit, we have to be useful. So that has changed the world forever, and of course, contributed a lot to the development of the humankind. The same with DAOs. Maybe DAO is gonna be something like LLC, but on a more global level, that we can now coordinate on a more global level, that we can build communities and we can coordinate effort more frictionlessly on a global level. Who knows? Who knows? That it could be. With a smart contract, you can have a DAO. You can have a DAO receiving profits, automatically distributing it to all the different DAO participants, depending on what they do. So all in all, will it be big? I'm sure it will be big. Will it be big today or tomorrow? Who knows? It's still early day. I mean, right now, most DAOs, it's a Discord server. So in that sense, it's not fair to attack the DAO and say that it's really representative of the potential. But they say many early efforts have fallen short, but all early efforts fall short. I mean, that's the thing. Go tell the Wright brothers that their airplane is a bad idea because it falls short. You know, the early effort. They tried flying it, they crashed. One of the brothers, unfortunately, passed away because his airplane, Wright brother, crashed. Okay? So you tell them, hey, it's falling short. Too bad. We're closing down the airplanes. The bad idea. It's by definition, early efforts, they always fall short. It's not clear that most of these enterprises are even decentralized. No, their Discord server, I just told you, their Discord server. Constitution DAO, but it's, once again, it's early efforts. Constitution DAO, which made news when it lost out in 43 million bidding war, hasn't even established a governance model. Yeah, it's early days. Look, early days, people trying things out. Wright brothers crashed the airplane. These guys did not have some kind of model, you know, some kind of document they didn't have, all right? Do you think early LLCs had like article of association? Did they have shareholders agreement? Probably not. So all in all, this is FUD. What else? Many of our greatest achievements are born from centralization. And there is some truth to that. Let me explain something that I believe in a lot. And that's also why I don't think that everyone will self-host their entire tech stack, even in Web3. The only thing that matters to self-host in Web3 is your assets, your wallet, and smart contracts that are deployed in a decentralized way. Everything else, it will be provided by people that do this as a 24/7 endeavor. Everything else, there is not these basic things like assets, because it's always the fact that human progress, when you think about human progress yet again, we are progressing because of specialization, all right? This is the core of human progress, because if you're good at something and I'm good at something, it's better that I do what I'm best at, you do what you're best at, and then we trade. Why? Because if I'm good at catching fish, I can catch you 100 fish, okay? If you're kind of okay at catching fish, maybe you catch 10 fish, all right? So let's say I'm very good at catching fish. I catch freaking 100 fishes, okay? I catch 100 fish in a day easy, because I love it. You know, I love fish. I love catching fish. You're not that good at catching fish. You're okay. You can manage. Let's say you catch 10 fish, okay? I catch 100, you catch 10. Let's say you're good at growing carrots, okay? Look, I can also grow a carrot. Maybe I can grow 10 carrots, okay? Because it's kind of my hobby. It's not my profession. But you can grow 100 of them. So what is better? Look, what is better? Is it better that you and I do a bit of both? Where, you know, I cannot focus on my fish. I have to grow this carrot. I'm not even good at it. Or is it better that we together do what we're best at and then we trade? How will we ensure that we're both richer at the end of the day? How do we ensure that we have more wealth together at the end of the day? It's not that we do things that we're kind of half okay at. Because the end output, the end result, is going to be bigger if you do what you're good at, I do what I'm good at. We specialize, and then we trade, all right? And then we trade back and forth. And this will create the biggest wealth, basically the most amount of goods and services in aggregate. This is how we work. This is the human. And, you know, there are a big country today that gets sanctioned because of their very bad decisions, as you probably have followed. They cannot produce anything, like cars. There are 20 countries involved to create a car. Anything you want to produce, there is no one country that can do that because we're specializing, all right? There is specialization happening on all levels in all industries. And this, of course, applies to the Web3 space. Is it better that you host your own node and you're kind of good at it, but you're not really good at it? Or is it better that you just use the full Moralis suite and all the tech? Is it better that you create your own UI kit, or is it better that you use Moralis Web3 UI kit? Is it better that you create something else that you could do, it will take you 6 months, or is it better that you use Moralis tools? Of course, in all cases where you're not the specialist, you should not do it. You should focus on what you're specialist. Basically building the dapp, getting the users, ensuring your users like your dapp. So as long as you can always have control over your assets and your smart contracts, everything above that, don't do yourself. And even this, you don't do yourself. The blockchain runs this. But everything on top is through specialization. So it's an important aspect to always keep in mind that we humans, so that's why when people ask me, will it be fully, everything self-hosted, everything fully decentralized? No. Assets, yes. More contracts, yes. The entire stack, just look at the complexity of the entire stack. Let's say you want to do everything yourself. There are many technologies involved. For example, in real time, to get all the data from the blockchain, you need the whole Kafka operation. You need to use real-time queuing systems to connect to all the nodes that you run, in real time process it, in real time do something with it, whether it is to update your database or update your UI. It's big data pipelines. So So that's why we have to be clear what should be centralized and what should be decentralized. So that's another important thing to keep in mind, that full centralization of everything, it's not even the goal. It's never the goal. The goal is ownership. That if I own something, I own it, right? That's important. If I have something in my wallet, I have something in my wallet. That's important. That's important. So sometimes many people are, they are turning this around into something that is not even the goal. Kind of like building a straw man. Another important aspect is self-hosting. So let me show it to you. It's self-hosting in terms of your infra. At the end of the day, if you want to self-host, whether it's Moralis or something else, you could do that. That's another important thing. You could absolutely self-host your nodes. You can self-host the entire Moralis stack as we're moving towards open source. So you could do that. I explained, by the way, in this video how this works. Is Moralis centralized? You can watch it. We discussed a lot that if you really want, you can self-host it. That's an important thing. Anyway, guys, let me know whether you agree or disagree. But the thing is, if you disagree, you will not go far. I mean, that's just how it is. If you disagree and you self-host everything and you do everything yourself, your rate of progress is going to be very slow. And it's going to be, yeah, it's not going to go far. You need a very big team just to do the basics before you even start doing anything. So we have a problem in this industry with false expectations, because when people come into the space, they hear from somewhere everything should be completely 100% decentralized, and they quickly find it's not how it works. And they see that big apps like OpenSea and others, they don't do everything themselves, and they see how they do it. But then many people that are new in the space, they insist, hey, I should run my own node. I should do everything myself, have full control. Kind of reminds me of myself. You know, when I was a kid, I learned that the way to build games is C++. I heard from someone, I was interested in development. I wanted to do games. I heard from someone, hey, if you want to learn games, learn C++. And look, I started to study C++, and I learned the basics. I could do basic things. Then someone told me, hey, Ivan, this was like in 2013, 14, 15, long time ago. Someone told me, hey, Ivan, there is a game engine called Unity. You should check it out. And I was like, no, I'm not going to use Unity, because that is for non-competent people that cannot write their own gaming logic. I am a competent professional, so I will write everything in C++, and this Unity thing, it looks like some kind of drag and drop for, you know, for children or something. I'm a serious developer. You want me to use this tool with drag and drop stuff? What are you speaking about? So I stacked, you know, I drew triangles in OpenGL with like each coordinate for each for each corner. And then, yeah, I tried learning about shaders. At some point, you know, humans in, you have big code base, you have a few triangles like, you know, spinning around with gradients. But you're very proud because you've written it yourself and you don't use any of this newbie, uneducated tools like Unity. But of course, I mean, this way of thinking, I'm glad I was a kid when I did that mistake. Because this way of thinking, to do everything yourself and not doing what you're best at, yeah. Of course, I didn't do any game because I was busy doing OpenGL triangles. Instead, if I used Unity, maybe I would be able to build something that actually was a game. Yeah, that's that. Okay, guys. So we discussed a lot. We kind of went off topic in terms of what should be centralized, what should be decentralized. So that's important. And let's go into the challenge, because today we did have a big challenge to create something using the authentication methods of Web3 auth and magic or magic. And we do have a submission here from I'm rich full black. Okay. We have one submission. Let's check what he did, because it does look very nice. I think he used Web3 UI kit, because these things are available in Web3 UI kit. Okay, log in using Web3 auth. So Web3 auth, what is it? It's basically that, as you can see, you can log in users based on email or social auth, like Google and all of that. And it will generate a wallet for you. So this is fully integrated into Moralis. You can log in your users into Moralis, as you know, using email, Google, Facebook. If they don't know about crypto, that's how they will get onboarded, and you will get a wallet generated based on this authentication. And if they have a wallet, they can just log in with their wallet instantly. So in this example, he's showing how to collect normally, but you could also use Facebook or any of that. And you go to your assets, you see your assets. Let's see if he shows login with socials, because I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. Fast forward. Yeah, let's see. Continue with, why does he not show? Yeah, I mean, it works, but I wish he also showed that you can log in with email, because if you want to log in with wallet, it's very easy. But the cool thing is you can log in with email. But yeah, great work. Big shout out to I'm Rich Full Black, who is today getting our prize. As you know, we are giving away NFTs to all the winners. Today he is getting the prize, which is Moralis Mesmerizer. And next week's challenge, which we haven't invented yet, will get Moralis Metaversatile. We have to invent it still. What's going to be the next week's? But yeah, when you're using Web3 auth or magic, please show the magic there. The magic is that you can log in with email and social auth. So that's very important. When Moralis pre-built templates is coming out, I can give you some leaks. So before we can release them, we are in the progress of redesigning how Moralis looks. And because you are here, I can give you some alpha leaks here. Because you will also see how they will fit in the new design. And yeah, you guys deserve to know as you are watching each and every week. And we have big changes coming. I mean, that's why you haven't seen a lot of updates in the current UI, because we're not working on it. We're working on the next big iteration. So let me give you a few leaks. This is alpha leaks. So in the near future, you log into the dapp. Sorry, you log into Moralis. You're going to see like this, that you have border plates, and these are the templates you're speaking about. You can select them, and you can create a new dapp. If you create a new dapp, you're going to select the chains, bam, 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 select environment, you're going to select the region, and then your dapp is going to be here on the front page. A big change is also going to be with the settings screen. I mean, we don't want the pop-up anymore. It's going to be full screen. It's going to be full screen settings with all the stuff here in the menu. You can quickly switch dapps like this. Bam, bam, bam. So the reason I'm showing you this is because before we can add templates, we need to have this UI out, because it's going to be incorporated into this UI. And I can tell you, my favorite thing with this new Moralis is this, that all the syncs are going to be in a table with indications of the number of events that we have left to sync. So you can follow the status of each sync. You can see how far behind the current block it is. Let's say that you have a new smart contract event that you just started to sync, and you sync like 1 million historical transactions. You're going to be able to follow the progress. And the same is, of course, for user wallet addresses. So this is something that is very important for us to get done. And once that is out, the next thing for us would be that, hey, you want to create a token. It's a nice border plate, and you launch a token. You have already the whole UI for managing the token. Or if you want to build a marketplace, the same thing. You already have a nice interface for your marketplace, and we have a lot of that in place already. But we need the new UI of the admin to integrate it. So that's coming up. Any drag and drop dapp building in Moralis. So Moralis is not like drag and drop. We may have something in the future, but it's for devs, and it's more, we're working more with border plates for coders. Not that much no code approach. We're not a platform for no code. But some things where we can speed up the life of developers, then yes. Like for example, with the templates. Like for example, here with NFT Marketplace, you click here, there is gonna be these contracts, because there are standard contracts for NFT marketplaces. So we deploy that for you. We deploy your backend and your frontend. So it's more speeding up the development. Can you sync and pull data from other contracts? You can sync any smart contract. So when you look at, you can, but I think you mean whether you can sync others smart contracts. You can. So when you want to sync something, you select either a preset or you click custom. So when you click custom, then you do all of this. So you select the address, the ABI, which is going to be filled automatically if we can find it. You select the chains, you select filters and all of that. So yeah, that's coming out soon. So it's going to be a big change to the admin UI. And from there, finally, we can start adding new things, like for example, the templates. So that's coming out in, look, I hope it's going to be in March that we can release. In the new system, if you mean drag and drop, no, this is the UI changes. So it's not like some kind of new drag and drop feature. Yeah, so we answer the template. We need to figure out the next challenge for next week's weekly challenge. And one thing that is fantastic to see is the growth of Web3 UI kit. Man, this library is gonna be such a beast. One of my favorite projects of Moralis is the fact that we have built Web3 UI kit, which is fully open source and really helps out a lot of devs. Because, by the way, go and star it. We have now 300 stars. It's been growing quite quickly. We have 300 stars already. We want to go to 1,000 stars. But a big difference between this UI framework and other frameworks for Web3 in React is that we can actually make it useful. So for example, when you log in, we can fetch instantly. Like when this happens, we can fetch instantly your balance, your NFTs, your tokens. No UI library can do it for you that is not Moralis connected. You normally have to figure out your own way of connecting it and using some kind of API, using some kind of data provider. But because we are the data provider and we do the SDK, we can have a seamless integration. We can have seamless integration without devs even noticing that this happens on the backend. And we can expose a very nice component like this, connect button. All of this UI is done already. And most importantly, all the data just flies into your app easily. So right now we also have a bunch of these Web2 components because we're basically open sourcing the entire Moralis UI, like all the buttons and all of this. But very soon there are gonna be new Web3 components, like for example, NFT collection as a component and NFT as a component that you can use within an NFT collection. So we're very, very focused on that. And that's one of the things that I'm especially proud of because everyone needs UI. Everyone needs UI, everyone needs a UI library. So this is one of the things that when we work, we know that this is helping everyone, this is open source. If you want, you can fork it, you can contribute to it, you can help out if you really want to leave your mark in the Web3 industry. And that's also another big thing. Big shout out to, let's see, we have a few closed. Big shout out to Abhinav, who is a community member who started to contribute 2 days ago. So he did this badge component. And now he also did the skeleton component, which is like this thing you can have when something is loading, like an empty UI field. Big shout out to Abhinav. And we're very happy when anyone contributes. And most importantly, when you contribute, your profile is forever gonna be here. It's gonna be imprinted into the contributors here on GitHub. So everyone can see that you contributed to Web3 UI kit. But of course, you have to be good. What the hell did I do? Don't even remember doing things. Updated README. Always important. Exactly. So that's one of the things that that is so key. Contributing to open source. And of course, it's also amazing from the perspective that for us, when we see someone very active in Web3 UI kit, we try to hire, always. Abhinav got some merch. And we checked with Abhinav, hey, you want to join us? But I think he was studying. Maybe in the future. But open source from a hiring perspective, it's amazing. Amazing. Because most people don't really understand open source. And when they see the light, their mind is blown. There is blown. You need to be contributing to open source. As a company, it's existential question. It's really an existential question, yeah. And when it comes to Web3 UI kit, I mean, what we're thinking about next is how do we make it even better? How do we add Web3 components that will help out this industry and so on and so forth? And of course, the biggest demonstration will be that this whole UI of Moralis, the new Moralis UI, full Web3 UI kit. I mean, all of this is Web3 UI kit. And one thing though, I think is the fonts. Let's see. I guess it's the fonts that you can customize them. Yeah, see here the font is different. Like this is not the same font as we have. Let me see if I can find some green button. Yeah, like here, for example. Yeah, it's a different font, but same button, same Web3 UI kit. Yeah, I mean, we're all in on Web3 UI kit because that's literally what we're using. When we're building this, we're building Web3 UI kit. On that note, will we get an Angular UI lib? I think Angular is something that the community is up to the community. We're building React. We're focusing mainly on React. Angular, we may do it as well, but it's just that we need focus. we need focus. We ourselves are using React. I cannot say that we're some kind of fantastic Angular. We do have, though, Attila, who is in our community, that he was very interested in doing Angular. But a big question with Angular also is that it's growing or it's not growing. This is a bit, yeah, Attila. So Attila, I know, has done some Angular, but it's nowhere near the completeness and like feature set of our React thing, of Web3 UI kit, for example. So it's always difficult because, you know, the way we're building this is because we're building our own UI and we're building in React. And Angular, while I see sometimes questions about it and people want to use it, in general, it's feels that React is more dominant. But of course, it would be nice to have. And we have some boilerplates. Let me check. We have some like starter boilerplate. If I go to our docs, I go to getting started, I see here, do we still, yeah, see, I think we removed it because it wasn't good enough. It was too, when you compare to the standard of like React boilerplate and add, yeah. See where we can, yeah, I don't think we have it anymore. Why? Because it was okay, but it wasn't the same standard. I wanted to have boilerplates that have high standard. So it's more up to the community to build, I would say, Angular. And React, we have sharp focus on. Solana, we have Solana API that's out. You can log in users with Solana. The thing we don't support yet is Solana in the server. That's coming up next. For next week, maybe we got git commit on Web3 UI. Yeah, so we had that already. As weekly challenge, we already had that you had to commit to Web3 UI kit. So we could have it again, but we had it already. And I think there we got a few nice commits. But it's always difficult because it's very subjective also. You know, what we accept, it needs to be high quality. And it's, yeah, I mean, you need to read how it's not maybe as fun as doing some kind of game or some kind of dapp, you know, because it needs to be high standard. and it's not just working for an output. Thank God we have Moralis. Hassan, big welcome. Big welcome. Good to hear that you're enjoying it. But yeah, what should we have as the next week's challenge, guys? That's the last thing we have to figure out. Stacy, do you support machine learning? Look, Moralis is for Web3. Machine learning, there are other tools for that. And, you know, as Moralis grows, maybe we see areas where it makes sense to add some machine learning. But once again, it's about specialization. We are Web3 platform. We're not machine learning platform. And normally you would use different platforms like Web3 with machine learning. You would use something like AWS. They have a lot of machine learning, or some other platform. But yeah, we ourselves, we're not doing machine learning. At least now. Maybe in the future it will make sense. Is it possible to view cross-chain assets in one view with Moralis? Yeah, you can do that. You can use Moralis.web3 API to fetch from any chain. And you can put them in a view. Can you quickly show how to get started? It's better that you Google Moralis course. You will see a full course on that. How to get started. Videos on NFT marketplace Boilerplate. You can Google OpenSea clone Moralis, and there Jay will actually build the boilerplate. Like, he built the boilerplate when he did that video. So you can Google OpenSea clone Moralis and you'll find it. Just checking you're ambitious. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do machine learning as well. But here's the thing: always in whatever you do, you gotta have so-called hedgehog concept. All right, you gotta have a hedgehog concept. Otherwise, you will not be successful. So, hedgehog. This comes from the fact that a hedgehog cannot do a lot of things. You know. The only thing a hedgehog can do is to curl into a ball with spikes, and they protect themselves like this. This is the only protection they have. And it works pretty well for them. There's no one that can eat this, you know. There's no some kind of, you know, wolf or something that can come and eat up a hedgehog. This does not work, okay? So this protection mechanism works a lot. So this concept of hedgehog is that you do something very simple and you do only one thing. And it needs to be something that you can be best in the world at. So, for example, there's no way we can be best in the world. There's zero. Because we don't have that background. We don't have that team. So, can we be best in the world at machine learning? No. Something that we need to be passionate about. And I can tell you that personally, I'm not very passionate about machine learning. It sounds cool. It sounds like you're gonna build Terminator and he's gonna wake up and walk around the room and you're gonna have like an artificial robot, okay? Turns out, so that's why when I was in university, I picked a few machine learning major courses, like extracurricular stuff. Man, turns out it's a lot of data, Excel file processing, all right? Like reading Excel file, CSV file, reading CSV file, like figuring out a lot of tinkering, waiting 3 hours for the model to train, tinkering again, waiting 3 hours to train. And look, if you love math, you love seeing how your mathematical model gets all the data from your Excel files, and then it can predict, not predict, but it can give you some probabilities about some other input that you give it. And you want to do that, good for you. Look, I need faster iteration cycle where I do something, I want to see the result now, not in 3 hours. And then I have to figure out how to change the data. And also, you know, some people they have a God's gift about math. And many people told me, hey, Ivan, you have God's gift from math. And I thought that all the way through high school, that I was Einstein in math. Because in high school, I was better than anyone in math. You come to me, I give you, you know, math answers quickly. Then you come to university and you see, okay, there are people that truly have God's gift about math. Where, you know, what I thought was good, like I was good in high school, you know. These guys, like my brain does not work that fast in math. It works faster in many other areas. Look, if you're fast in math, it doesn't mean that you're gonna go far. But in that math area, man, there are some amazing people in the world. And if you are that person and you can truly see how all of these models work, fantastic. Look, you're going to love machine learning. You're going to do great things. You're going to go far in that. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons also. It's not really my passion. And yeah, it's not our passion. We don't have a lot of people in our team that truly know machine learning. And finally, it needs to make economic sense. Economic sense that, you know, it makes sense that you build something, you can sell it, or you can have some kind of token model around it, or some other economic sense. Because without economic sense, you can look. If I'm the best in the world at folding paper airplanes, and also have a passion for folding paper airplanes, it's not necessarily that it will make economic sense for me to be professional paper airplane folder for life. So that's, yeah, I mean, when it comes to decisions whether to do something or not to do something, it needs to be in the hedgehog. It needs to be absolutely in the hedgehog. And if let's say in a few years, we come back to machine learning and now we have a different team because, I don't know, for some reason, let's say we have a big team with machine learning experts and they're passionate and it makes economic sense. Well, maybe we can add this to our hedgehog. I doubt it. But could happen, you never know. Is this good morning? This is not good morning crypto. Sorry to disappoint you. There is no Degen stuff here. But yeah, I need to make an update on Ivan on Tech as crypto now it's pumping quite nicely. I will make an update if it goes above 46k. Let's hope it does. Let's see, where is Bitcoin now? Like 42 or something. If it's not above 46, it can still be a fake out. And yeah, like 42 now. It's nice pump in a day. It's fantastic. Yeah, if it goes up, oh, I hope it's not a BART. See this? This can be a BART, okay? As long as we don't pump to 46 and we confirm that it's not a BART, scam pump, it actually sustains and it goes to 46, then we're gonna do an update. Okay. Clients want ML on blockchain data. So yeah, I mean, look, if you have that passion to build some product around machine learning on blockchain data, there's a lot to do. Oh, there's endless use cases for machine learning on blockchain data. There is fraud, there is scammers, hackers. There's so much to do. Stop shilling Moralis. It's literally Moralis YouTube channel. Andy, if you don't want Moralis shill, you have to go somewhere else. I'm sorry. This channel is literally called Moralis Web3 YouTube channel. And also on Ivan on Tech, we mention it now and then, but look, I'm doing Moralis. What do you want? Of course, I'm gonna shill it. Moralis is gonna change Web3 and crypto completely. Yes, indeed. 42 plus, yes. Maybe we'll do Web3 UI kit and Magic login to fetch multi-chain assets. Not sure if it supports multi-chain. So Magic, it supports a few chains, not all of them, not as many as Moralis does, but it supports, I think, Polygon also. We could integrate it in the boilerplate and Web3 UI kit as well. Love listening to you talk. You're the best. Thanks, Omar. Thanks, more. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. Final thing. What should be the challenge? What should we build in terms of challenge? Any ideas? Any ideas? What we should? Hello. Is this good morning? It's not good morning crypto, guys. It's Moralis weekly dev update. It's not good morning crypto. It's not even the correct channel for good morning crypto. Yeah, let's send Andy some Moralis merch. Exactly. Let's send Moralis merch to. Well, okay, here it is. Guys, next week's weekly challenge is to build something using the Solana API. Do whatever you want. You can fetch NFTs. You can fetch assets. Do whatever you want using the Solana API. I will update it right now in the weekly challenge. Weekly challenge. Solana API. Bam. Use something with that. There we go. And let's see what you guys can do. Most importantly, I hope that it can be a push to you trying Solana. And then also you can try building on Solana using Moralis. If you still haven't tried the wallet, the Phantom wallet, you should get going. So hope you will enjoy, hope you will learn a lot. And on that note, guys, have a good day. Enjoy your day. Hope you learned something from this stream, and see you all very, very soon, guys. See you all next week on this